Okay, so this is what we got from last stream, but how can we get this up? Because I don't have the... There we go. Ooh. Let's zoom in. So we have a poll. I'm on my... I'm not logged in, because if I log in on the account, it'll show what I voted for. And that might make people biased. So, to avoid the bias, I'm not going to show. I'm not going to reveal. And I don't want to show you guys the results either, because that could make you biased too. So, we've got 30 votes so far, and it's open for the whole week. So, you know, there's still a lot of time. I thought I'd let you all know on stream today, because some of you might not have seen it. And I think it'll be pretty fun to see what tops this poll. We need a lot of votes so that it's a fair... It gives a fair result though. So feel free to, you know, give us a vote. Doing good, just had the first day of my postgrad course. I'm excited. Oh, first day. That's exciting. I hope it went smoothly. Best of luck with that, Master Emerald. Azriel already voted. Yeah. So, this is our hashtag now, everybody. It's ours. Nobody else has ever used it before. So, we're going to steal this hashtag and it's going to take over the world. It will eventually, because I just thought it'd be fun, and I like polls, as you know. And there's going to be another one next week. I've kind of been thinking about ones to put up, so keep an eye out, because they'll get posted on a weekly basis. And I'm quite impressed we got 30 votes. People actually like to vote at polls, by the look of it. But we need more. I've seen the results and I'm quite surprised. So I've given you guys the link in chat so you can get there quicker. Right, so that's it now. We'll I'll just turn that off for a bit. We don't need it anymore. Here we go. I voted, but it's hard because RPGs I normally go spellcaster, but that's not an option here. Yes, it's you're a sort of DPS, I guess, but that's a lie because the warrior class is more of a tank. I guess you could say we're a non-caster. And hi Binary, how you doing? It's good to see you. And Zexy, welcome back. How's it going? I was just telling people about the poll. The poll that was posted on the Twitter yesterday. RPG question of the week is now our hashtag. It's a special hashtag that's going to become famous. Going well, thanks yourself and chat. Doing good, Binary. Doing good. I'm excited for today's stream. We've got some fun times ahead with Raindrop Chronicles and story decisions for all the next part. What about you, Binary? How are you? Oh, I've got a bit of a creaky chair going on today. Bit of creaky chair. Okay. Alright, so this is where we finished last stream. I went through the VOD last night. Oops, that's everybody's notes from last stream, that is. Let's do that instead. So I went through the VOD and I copied and pasted anything that, you know, was like an idea. So I'm collecting everybody's thoughts. So that's what I'm gonna do. I think now for these story suggesters and streams, I'm gonna look through the VODs afterwards because it'll probably be easier doing it that way rather than just copying and pasting during the stream. So many votes. Yeah, 30 votes. Busy but good. It's a good busy. That's good tier binary. Of course, you'll have to delete it and post the correct version with option 1 warrior and option 2 also warrior. Hunter. Everybody seems to like the hunter. You know what this means? We gotta make warrior even more awesome, so that people actually find it hard to pick. Okay. People might change their minds if they knew what the skills were, though, for each. I already know what the next question of the week's gonna be. Bet you'll never guess what it's gonna be, everybody. Okay, so I've got Abel's notes here, and I know that some of you did post in the idea discussion section as well. So we'll look at that too if it pops up, if something on that subject pops up. And I haven't put anybody's ideas on the actual thingy, this page here, because I'm going to use the ideas more for potential ways we can take the story, and we're going to do polls, but they'll be at the end when all the story suggestions and stuff that finishes. We'll do all the polls at the end of it all. We'll have loads. Expect hundreds. No, expect quite a lot though. Hey Rose, have you okay? Hi Rad, how you doing? It's good to see you. I'm having a good day. Look at all those raindrops, binary. Not nearly top 30. GG. Kung is the hunter lady. Alright. So today, have I got my... Yeah, I have my doc open. So today, we're going to just be writing down. We're going to be talking more about things that I didn't get much chance to talk about last time because we got all carried away with things and we didn't get around to talking about absolutely everything. So I'm going to talk about more of that today. But I'm trying to think if there's any extra notes to add before we start. I've kind of, in the notes, I've split it up in my notepad file. I've kind of split it as fruits, Fiona, village outsiders, human and reptile war, and like into categories so that I can categorise and organise it all better. So yay, so we got quite a lot on Fiona, I've noticed from last stream. Staying cool, getting ready to be productive, checking in before that though. Oh, what are you doing? What productive stuff are you going to be up to, Rod? I'm intrigued. Alrighty ho, so I'm trying to remember what we actually talked about last time, but at the moment we are focusing on the two major events before we jump into other stuff, before we jump deep into the side quests and NPC creation and finishing the rest of main quest 1, because my thought was that every side quest we have, what happens in the main quest, etc., is kind of all gonna like branch from these two events, and these are our starting points. We can't really come up with ideas and thoughts, relevant ones anyway, unless we've like fleshed out both of these. And we had some really cool thoughts coming from the ones from last week. I loved the forbidden human and reptile romance idea for a side story, for an example. That was one that I was fond of, but there was other really cool ones as well. Organisation and cleaning. Wow. It needs to be done, and to be honest, Rod, I need to do that too, in regards to my computer folders. They're a right mess. Oh, what was that? I saw an alert. Was that a host? I don't know why, but recently hosts haven't been coming up on my alerts, so I don't know who it is who did it, but thank you very much. I appreciate the host. Hope you're having a great day. Okay, so we talk quite a lot about the Lakefall villagers. Oh, it's Mia. Hi, Mia. How you doing? It's good to see you. I love your hair, Mia. Your new hair. It's awesome. Really suits you. I hope you're doing all right, Mia. It's me. It is indeed. We're doing Story Suggester then, Mia, which is a series of ideas, thoughts from myself and the community where we'll get together and just talk about all the next part, all the rest of episode 1 basically, and what's ahead. Because that way, when we've released the first playable build and we start adding the next batch of content, we'll know exactly what to do because we'll have planned ahead, and it's fun as well. It's the fun bit. This is my favourite part when we talk about the story parts. It's super fun to do. How many locations does the world have now? Just one. Just one little tiny forest in the middle of nowhere, and that's the sort of the idea that I've got really with the structure of this in terms of the world is that each episode, it'll be a region per episode, if that makes sense. So episode 1 is all the Everbloom Forest, the one place that we're doing right now. And then when we go to episode 2, you'll be in another region, and it's going to kind of be split up in that way. Because it's not going to be an RPG where you go to a village and then you're out of there straight away after buying what you need and fighting a few enemies and a boss. We're going to spend time in this place, get to know the people living there, do side quests around the area, etc. So there's a lot of lore, a lot of story, a lot of history to find out about. It's worth spending time there. We spent a lot of time doing the mapping here, so all the more reason to make the most of it, I say. Does the world have a barren desert yet where raindrops don't fall and there could be a mechanic of pouring raindrops to create plant platforms that let you progress? Interesting. I 100% think we're going to have a desert at some point. Whatever episode that pops up in, we don't know. It'll probably be a more far out episode because I couldn't imagine a desert being close to where we are now, but it only makes sense to have a desert in every RPG. You've got to have it all. You've got to have deserts, you've got to have mountains, snow, all of it. So maybe you crash in the desert after a major battle on an airship or something, maybe. But it's going to happen. There's got to be a desert. There's been a bit of talk about deserts and how the whole raindrops would work there, because obviously, as you say, they wouldn't really fall in deserts. And whether, that means they're just left, whether the government just abandoned those people, and because of that, maybe. There's been a bit of discussion about things like that in the past. Gonna be episode 17B. Yeah. Could we have a swamp later on? Oh yeah, there'll probably be a swamp too, everybody. It's gonna honestly be wherever it makes sense to be next. The world is kind of gonna reveal itself as we progress. Like, we've got this one little forest area now, and we don't know. It's all just a big question mark what's around us, but it's all gonna slowly reveal itself. It's a very slow process because of the nature of the project. Definitely not going to be one to rush it. Maybe people are sent to the desert to die as a punishment, so there's a community of nerdoels and criminals. That's a good idea. I definitely was on the same page. I imagined it was going to be a desert as an area where all the left behind people gather, and poverty and all that kind of thing. For sure. And it's very exciting to think of making a world like that with all these different like biomes and settings and all that, for sure. That's what keeps me going, in all honesty, just knowing the scope of this. But for sure, I mean, it's probably not going to be filled up in like 6 years, maybe, who knows, till we see a desert. But I don't put a time on it because we just don't know. We see where it takes us. Sorry, I'm off topic. What is the focus of today? No worries, mate. In all honesty, I'm not like, it's not a rule to not discuss what we're not talking about, because I have a section in my notepad files called other/future. So anything that you guys say that isn't specific to what we're talking about can go in there, because some folks last stream mentioned some things that were more for the future and not off topic, but they were really cool ideas. So we need those after all, because it's always good to have something to sort of think about for when that time comes as well. So yeah, don't fear talking about future things either, guys. If you wish, it's always fun. I mean, it's not going to be obviously something that we're going to get deep into because it's not the focus, but it's still exciting to think about. Right. Your party would likely end up there by accident. Yeah, unless there was a goal and motivation to send them there. But yeah, who knows? Who knows is the motto of our stream. Alright guys, so what we're doing now in answer to Mia's question, we are focusing on episode 1, right? So episode 1 takes part in the Everbloom Forest, which is, I should get it up actually, I should get titled up just in the background so that people have a context to what this forest is. And also the lore Bible will eventually get filled up with information that we do set in stone once we've done polls and things. Right, so this is Everbloom Forest, folks. Our lovely cliffy waterfall, foresty, enchanted area of the world. And we have a lot of space around here, a lot of that I imagine will eventually, this forest will expand from what it is currently, but this is sort of what we've done now for the stage of episode 1 where we are in development. But expect a slightly larger region eventually. But yeah, so we are thinking about everything. In all honesty, right now we're thinking about the world building of the place, the NPCs that live there, potential side quests we could have, and how to finalise the rest of the main quest. So yeah, we are thinking about literally the whole goal of the story suggestathon, which isn't going to just be today, it's going to take place for weeks. This is going to be to just come up with the remaining story of episode 1 so that we know what's coming. But we are beginning with the 2 major events of episode 1, so let's just close that off, because there's 2 major things that happen in episode 1, and everything's going to branch off that in terms of quests. Any side quests we get is likely going to come from one of these 2 events. There might be other side quests that might be not as much related, that are more character quest focused, like for example Rose, my character, the vampire. There might be a quest that's more about her as a character, but that's I see that as a character sort of quest rather than an actual major story event, if it was going to be anything about Rose or another character, for example. Always a good idea to show you your amazing map, to be honest. Oh, thank you, Zexy. I appreciate the kind words. The work. Alright, guys, so we I'm going to be putting in notes as we talk about this, and as I said last stream, I'm going to take a screenshot as well and pop it in the Discord when we do get a bit more text on here. It wasn't worth screenshotting this last time because we only have this so far, but I will screenshot as we start to get more information in here so that you guys can see what we're chatting about. Is Rose an NPC or a character you will play? Hi Maester, how are you doing? Welcome back. She is a playable character. She is of the vampire class, which is her special class, because in Raindrop Chronicles player characters, there's only a player character that the class is unique to them, so she's the only vampire class. There is another vampire player character though, but he's a duelist, but he's a vampire. But if you want to look, I mean, take a look in the Lore Bible, everybody, if you're curious, because we have a character section. And if you click the character section on the Lore Bible, everybody's profiles all come up, and they're all in folders. We've got an NPC folder and we've got a player character folder as well. So you get to have a closer look of who's who, and who we've got so far. Alright, so what I want to do today, I would really like to fill in more stuff about the actual war between humans and reptiles. And then I want to talk more about these particular elements of the story. What should I say, characters, because that's what they are. The tree, Father Maple, Stumpy and the fruits, and I'll put a picture there when we talk about each of them so you all know what they look like. And those, I've put those underneath this section in blue under the Spell of Everbloom Forest because they're related to that part of the story. After all, they're plants or trees or, fruits that have come to life that, never used to be alive. So they're all linked to that. But we have got stuff to talk about in this section. It's a little bit bare at the moment. So I think this little section needs talking about for sure. Okay, and I've got a lot of notes on this in my secret notepad file that need to be put down as well. So just trying to get, there we go. Right, so the difference between the two major events is that one is the overall story arc and the other is just episode 1's story arc. So the war between the humans and reptiles is kind of an ongoing theme of episode 1 because this war happened in the place that we're in now, in Everbloom Forest. So it's a very focused story arc in this episode. When we move on to episode 2, it'll be bye reptiles and human war, and we'll be moving on to other stories and other themes and things that are related to what's happening in the next place. I mean, that doesn't mean we'll never see any sort of little bits of reptile human racism. That'll probably be something that pops up now and again throughout the story, but it won't be the focus in the future episodes. It's won't be the major focus anyway. And the Spell of Everbloom Forest, that is literally, it's Carol's story, in all honesty. It relates to the fact that she's trying to find her family. And it's the overarching whole plot of the game, and is going to be ongoing because there'll be other living things. It's a global thing that's affected the world, not just Everbloom, in terms of things that are alive. Because the spell was so massive, and that's in the Lore Bible too, everyone. So there's a couple of articles about that spell too. But we've got nothing in the Lore Bible about the war yet, so that's definitely things that we need to discuss. The spell side of things is more fleshed out than the war part at present. Question we need to answer then: who started the war? Was it an artificial conflict or was it a natural occurrence? Oh my goodness, I cannot pronounce words. Was it a natural occurrence? There we go. See, that is all. This is what this is all about, everybody. This is where we make the decisions together. So if anything springs to your mind that you think works, you think, yeah, that fits for this, just throw it out there. Because like I said, I'm copying and pasting notes through. I'll be looking through the VOD after and copying and pasting anything that like is like yes, and I'll be curating everything throughout, and eventually we'll be having polls with all of these ideas, the ones that I've approved from, and they'll be on the polls, and then it'll all be crazy. There's a lot of organisation to do here, but we'll do it. We'll try our best. You pronounce words better than I spell them. Yeah, sometimes I butcher things. It can't be helped. But yeah, it could be, honestly, nothing's set in stone just yet. I want us all to be willing to consider every single possibility. And as you know, I mean, I've put it on the website now. I am like working on a story sort of what do you call it, framework, that I'm doing that behind the scenes. So not everything is gonna always fit, because it might clash with the framework, but I'm not going to be like, it's not going to be something that's super rigid, so there's still a lot of possibilities, and most things will probably work. But anything that'll work and could be great, I'll be like, yeah, and that'll be something where it could potentially go anyway. Right, so let's get my secret Google Doc up for this bit. Also, yeah, what would we do? One thing we did do, we were putting in some personalities, weren't we? Because people will react differently. Met and Zexy had a really good point last stream that said, you both said that a key part of this story is the fact that people's lives have been disrupted since this spell, and we're going to see that as the player when we meet the humans, because they're going to be around us in Lakefall. It's the first village we're at, and we'll be talking to them, and we'll see how they react to this. And as the player, we're going to find out about what's happened from them. We'll get bits of the story, and everything that's going on will be told to us from the NPCs. And we've kind of said paranoid, cowardly, fearful were some personalities, and I know that a few of you mentioned others, but the notepad file's really big, so I'm gonna have to have a proper look through and say. Angry's one. I think angry was one. Scared, I suppose that's the same as fearful. So yeah, if it's anyone that comes up with any others, feel free to say, because the goal is to create a very diverse bunch of characters living in Lakefall. They're not going to be cardboard cutouts and clones of each other. They're all going to, have reacted differently to this disruption in their lives. Some will, there'll be a range of different reactions from it. It was mentioned last stream that some third party maybe started the conflict. I personally support it just being something that naturally happened because tensions got high and boiled over, but either work. I also think, as mentioned last stream, it'd be a good idea to show that the veterans of the war have stories that don't match up. Maybe one side is more accurate, maybe both sides are embellished, but it was 17 years ago and the people care less about the truth and more about how it makes them feel. Yes, I think one really cool thing, I'm in agreement that one cool thing about this whole event is the conspiracies and the lies and the twist of the truth. It's an interesting thing, and it makes us question things as the player, because when we're first here, we're hearing all this propaganda about the reptiles, but we're going to believe it as the truth at first. We're going to be like, oh my god, these reptiles are awful, absolutely awful. They're the villains of this story. Oh, we're gonna be fine reptiles. We are in this game. That's what we're gonna be thinking as a player at the start, and that's gonna kind of make us realise that's not the case. It's a little bit more complicated. We're gonna really realise that when we go to the caves and meet reptiles. Don't mean the reptiles are like angels or anything. They're still a bit morally, you know, they're not squeaky clean, far from it. They're still questionable, but things aren't as like black and white as it is being made out. So yes, that is something for sure. I'm going to make sure that is added to this section as well, Zexy. So to break things up, my notes are like this, so I'm trying to think of where we can start. Okay, there is a long... Actually, we'll make this that font's a little bit clearer to read. There we go. You meet a guy whose wife left him because she thought he was going insane. He kept talking about barrels coming to life, so now he's super paranoid and talking to the regular barrels scattered around. Oh no, and the wife left him because he went insane. That's so tragic. It could happen, you know. I think it's a good thing to think about the families, you know. I mean, we haven't like gone straight into developing the NPCs yet, but I would definitely want you guys to have it in the back of your minds, and myself, I want all of us to think about the type of characters that are going to be living here beyond just their personality, like maybe their little side stories. And that one that Mia's just brought up is a pretty good one, and we'd feel sorry for him. It's a good way for us to sort of sympathise a bit with the humans, because we're definitely, the way we're going at the moment, I'm definitely bringing in the reptile sympathy. I'm turning you all into reptile sympathisers, but we need to like the humans too. We don't want this to be something where, oh my goodness, reptiles are amazing and humans are evil, or reptiles are evil and humans are the best. It's not. I want to make this decision a little bit difficult for you with who you'd side with or ally with, you know. It's not easy. It's grey. And do you think they've got grey morality, or since they're not human, would they be more orange and blue morality? Oh, that's a trope, the orange and blue one. I found that one the other day, actually. Zexy, remind me how orange and blue morality differs to grey, because I've read this one before, but I just need reminding of the difference with the two. And in one of the towns you find the wife and can explain to her the truth or not, and if so, she regrets her decisions. But if you don't tell her, then she's with another guy. In episode 2 and in episode 3, she gets married in another town. How dare she? I'm on side with the poor husband already, and it's not even been written yet. I like NPCs where you can, I think it's very important to feel for them, because we're not going to give a crap, are we, about what happens to them if we don't feel for them. We need to like them. And we're not going to like everybody. There's going to be some reptiles and humans that we hate, but there's going to be some that we love. We gotta love some of them. Oh no, not up to the bots. Ban. Gotta do the banning, everybody. There we go. 3 dumb bots in a row. I know it's happening quite a bit lately. I don't know what's going on, but I got follow botted about 2 or 3 weeks ago. 6,000 followers, guys. I went on the Commander Root tool thing and deleted the lot of them after my stream. My goodness me, 6,000 follow botted. And I didn't want to keep them there because I don't like that. I don't want to have fake followers on my Twitch, so I did delete them manually. I'm glad there was a way to do that. That's the worst I've seen it. What, as in just the 3 bots is the worst you've seen it, Master? Oh my goodness. What about the 6k followers? That was the worst for me. That's an attack. Oh Lord, yeah, oh Lord indeed. People hate me, everybody. They don't like me. I don't know what I've done wrong. Orange and blue is where they do different from humans, that their values just make no sense to us. So instead of good and evil, Lauren K's, it would be like bacon and neckties. Oh, okay. Interested. Yeah, if any ideas spring to mind, feel free to throw them at me if they are more orange and blue, because I can't think of any off the top of my head now that might fit for reptiles, but there might be some. It could go either, you know, could go either. It's whatever works best. Grey, orange, blue, we'll see. And there, I wasn't there for the follow incident. I haven't seen that happening either. Yeah, it only happens to me. I'm gonna cry, everybody. I'm just trying to enjoy something I love doing. That's all I'm doing. That's all I'm trying to do on this stream. Okay, so there is a long history of hatred between the 2 races. Okay. Right, so I think the next point to get in is going to be that reptiles currently dwell in the caves within Everbloom Forest. I want to get the major facts in first, and the main points, and then I'll start putting down possible things after that, and anything you guys say will eventually be added to this too. Within Everbloom Forest, should I say? Oh, hang on, that makes no sense because within there's twice. There we go. Currently dwelling in the caves of the Everbloom Forest. So just to show you where that is, everybody, it's down here. There's a little hole in the mountain, in the cliff, and assume that there's all these underground like cave places within these cliffs, and when we do design this cave place, because we will, that will be coming up as one of the things we do in the next batch of content. I'm going to make sure it's like all like properly shaped, the same as this, and that'll be super fun to do. Like the second underground layer of Everbloom Forest. So that's where the reptiles live, everybody. And I guess there's so many questions that come to our head for why this is and how this happened. Did they get exiled by the humans? You know, did they? Because yeah, let's get that down as well, because reptiles used to live in Lakefall. Lakefall was originally their home, so that needs to get put in as well. Lakefall was their home, once was their home. Put that first. Lakefall was once the home of the reptiles, but they now dwell in caves within Evergreen. Right, I hope that makes sense. Right, so the reason why I'm like so adamant that Lakefall was originally their home is because it just makes the reptiles' cause just so much better. If it wasn't their home originally, then why should we give a damn about the reptiles? It just makes things a little bit more complicated and make us feel a little bit bad for them that they got that taken away from them. They're just we're more likely to sympathise a bit. But as we said, it's not all that black and white. Like, reptiles might have done bad things too, but so have humans. So let's read what you guys have said. So, for example, people tend to care about human life more when it's children. And they tend to care... Hi Arthur, thank you for that follow. I appreciate that. Welcome to the stream. And they tend to care more about their own children than others. Maybe for reptilians it's all children anywhere that are important, or maybe they don't distinguish between childhood and adult. Oh, in addition to that, because we're on the childhood subject, I feel it's really important to mention this now before we get in too deep. There is going to be a baby reptile living in the caves. That is the child of one of the reptiles involved in the the Barrel family kidnapping situation. It was something that got talked about on stream about a month or two ago, while we were doing the scene of when Rose does the painting after we fought the fruits, because she does a painting of a reptile. Because originally Rose was going to paint the place where the barrels were taken, but I decided to change it to paint who took the barrels, because it just felt perfect to make it a reptile who did the kidnapping, considering Chub Cheeks' character is the one behind all that, and he's a reptile, so the minions are reptile too. So yeah, the reptiles are involved in a few dodgy things like cart hijacking and stuff like that. But we wanted to make that reptile story a little bit more sympathetic. We didn't want to just make him a complete ruffian that hijacked a cart and just didn't have a care in the world. He's got a family to provide for. He's got a baby that he has to provide for, and that's the reptile who has the painting drawn of him. It's pretty complicated. It all needs to be put in the story so far. I think it might be, though, if we go on the Lore Bible, there might be a bit about that at the end, about the fact that Rose paints a picture of a reptile. We did do a poll on it. If I can find the poll, then there's a bit of context then. So let's find the poll. Alana, thank you for the follow as well. Welcome to the stream. Hope you're having a good Monday, everybody. Okay. Poll results here. Okay, so here it is. Can we zoom in so you can see it better? Okay, so that's the painting that Rose paints of the reptile that took the barrels. Because Rose was a witness to that whole scene. She actually saw this reptile. And we did a poll, what colour should the paint be? And everybody wanted the green ones. The green one is, I'm not going to save over this, by the way. But the green one did win the poll. So I'll just put the focus on that one because of that. And at the bottom I said the one that wins the poll will lock in the colour of this currently unknown character. All we know about this character so far is that they're a minion of Chub Cheese's character, that antagonist reptile, and hijacked a weapon, kidnapping Carol the Barrel's family in the process. We don't, like, as the player, we don't have none of this at this stage. We don't know Chub's involved or anything like that. That's stuff we're going to find out later. But they're the one that hijacked the wagon, kidnapped Carol's family. They live in a cave in Everbloom Forest and are rumoured to be the father of a baby reptile. Cute baby reptile hypo. So we just got attached to it, in all honesty. Us and chat, we got obsessed with the idea of having a baby reptile in the game because it's just cute. And, you know, as something that Zexy said, people tend to care about human life more in its children, so it's kind of a little bit relevant, I guess, because adding a child or baby reptile into the game complicates things a little bit, because if you are on the side of the humans, and you know, it makes it a bit complicated that there's a baby creature there, you might feel like, oh yeah, it's probably better we don't hurt these reptile creatures anymore. But it's an interesting point, all children anywhere that are important, or maybe they don't distinguish between childhood and adulthood. So some of that could work. I think introducing a child reptile to the game will sort of bring up themes like that, especially the one, if we have the sort of all children anywhere are important, that could sort of work too. Because we got to try our damned hardest, you know, to make sure reptiles and humans are none are better than the other, or none are. We want it to be a balanced sort of thing. Okay, let's just cross that off. Okay. And let's see what comes out. All elderly or exclusively elderly reptiles, the young ones not so much. Elderly too, yeah. Yeah, how are they with their elders and things like that? Interesting. We could go so deep into this and just make a whole book on it, couldn't we? In all honesty, this lore. Actually building off of that, if they do value all children, maybe that's why Fiona isn't being attacked. The reptiles are protecting her because she's a child, even though she's a human, just a thought. True. But Fiona and reptiles is another thing altogether, because we don't even know if Fiona and the reptiles have met at this point. We know that Fiona's brave enough to just walk into the forest. That is one thing we know. And the actual monsters of the Everbloom Forest haven't hurt her. We know that. And that's, we had the idea, I think it was you, Zexy, that mentioned, you know, she could have taken something that makes her invisible to the monsters of the forest, and that's how she did it. And I think that's a brilliant idea, and a good reason for why she's got through that forest alive. The reptile, it's very, very much a question mark about Fiona and the relationship with the reptiles at the moment. There has been talk of it. We had a bit of a chat about it last stream, but nothing's set in stone there so far. Because there's been nothing developed. We've not even met the reptiles in the game yet, so we can go anyway. We can go wherever we want. But yeah, that's true. If we are going to have a sort of thing like that, then it would make sense as well. if Fiona and the reptiles don't have any hatred between each other. Okay, so it's got an itchy eye. What kind of leadership do the reptiles have? Is there a king or a queen? Oh, see, this is the important one. Good question, Mia, and this is in the notes as well. Now, I think this is the perfect time to bring it up, right? Rex's character. You see that reptile walking across with the hat on? The green one. He's the leader of the reptile resistance. So we should get in a bit of information about him, I think, at this point. And now, Rex's character's profile is on the Lore Bible, but Rex recently sent me either a more detailed version of his character. It just hasn't been put in the Lore Bible yet. So I feel now would be a good time to expand upon that character with the information that was given, and potentially develop everything else about the reptiles from that. But I've got a lot of notes. I've got so many notes. I hope to get them all down today for sure. But if not, there's no worries, because this is something we're going to do for many streams. So I'm going to find Rex's character sprite if I can, because I'd like to put pictures on here so we've got something visual to look at rather than just text everywhere. Did there used to be a king or queen before the war? Yeah, this is all what's so good, Mia, because we don't know. This is what we can decide together. But I think thinking about the history and really thinking of how life was before the war and during the war is just as important as what life is like now after the war. It just makes it so much better and more fleshed out, and for sure I think us all as a community should consider the history as well as the present day, because it was 17 years ago, and there'll be reptiles and humans still alive today that were in that war. They'll be older. Like everybody that's a teen or younger obviously wasn't alive, so they weren't as impacted. But the older people, and even people like in their 30s, would have been children when that war was going on, and they would be affected too. So last stream I mentioned it might be pheromones or fruit effect that protects her, but instead of that it could be the reptiles protecting her. She doesn't have to know about it. They could be doing it secretly because they won't let a child get hurt, and that could directly contradict something that humans tell us. They say reptiles slaughtered dozens of children during that war, but the reptiles show us that they won't let any kid get hurt. I love that idea, Zach. So I mean, as much as I love the fruit sort of magical effect idea, and I still really love the whole possible idea of having fruits have dangerous or interesting side effects, because I think that's a very creative thing for us to think about, of what sort of things they might do, and it fits with the evilness of the fruits as well, especially if they've done horrible side effects in those fruits because they're horrible. They're evil fruits. I still think we should not throw away that potential idea, because it could work out for other things, but I do really like this idea too. I think it's very strong. It just makes it so much more complicated, and it's gonna add likability factor to the reptiles too, and it's gonna just make it more clear that the humans don't know what they're talking about. So yeah, we're gonna get all this stuff in. So, but don't worry, guys. Don't worry about just coming up with the ideas, because I don't expect to get. Don't feel that you're like making me get brain mush or melt or anything if you give me too many, because I'll deal up with all that off stream. I'll look through the VOD off stream, and anything that you guys have said, you know, you can. I'll be copying and pasting anyway. So even if I can't, like, obviously put everything in or talk about everything thoroughly today on today's stream. It will get sort of talked about and brought up again. Hi Wes, how are you doing? It's good to see you. I hope you're having a wonderful Monday. Right, so what am I doing? I'm trying to find... Now, it's very easy to put pictures into Draw.io, luckily, which is really nice, but I need to actually find the file first. Because I need to get Rex's character sprite. And it's my fault because I'm not organised at all. Like I said, I need to do a good organisation of all my stuff and images that we've got, because everything's everywhere at the moment. Here we go. Sorry you can't see it because I'm not showing Photoshop, but I'm just gonna do it now. You'll see it in a sec. It's been Monday all month. It's been Monday for the whole year. Fact. Alright, so I can just drag that in. There we go. So eventually I will be breaking all this text up with images so we know who we're talking about in things. Right, so I'm going to just quickly look through. Okay, so I'm going to just move this down a bit lower because I want to just add in a little bit more info about the humans and reptiles, just the major points for now. So we've got, they now dwell in the caves of the Everbloom Forest. Okay, so were they exiled by humans? Hang on, let's add those. I've got a couple of questions for us to consider here, so I'm going to say... So just those three questions really I'm thinking about, because clearly because they're living in caves now, it's the question of, well, they're obviously not welcome in Lakefall anymore. So they were likely just sent away by the humans and not welcome. And maybe they did live together for a time before things got really bad and they were sent out, because in Rex's character's profile it does say that he was friends with a human once, so that would make that work. Move that down a little bit more because I've got a few other little things to mention. Hi Unknown, how are you doing? Welcome to the stream. True. rip my rip emote. We could go into the magical direction. Some series says that Fiona will play an important role in the future. Maybe she will. I'm not against having Zias in Everbloom. I think that would fit with the whole Everbloom Forest sort of theme. Fiona, it's very easy to flesh out Fiona at the moment because she's the only NPC, Lakefall NPC in the game that we've established so far, apart from her brother, of course. So it's very easy to give everything and all the stories to Fiona, but we do want to think about other new ones as well, because it is going to be populated with other people. We don't want all of those to be cardboard cutouts and Fiona to be the only one with a story. But yeah, we can all easily give some Fiona stories to others if we feel she's got too many. That's later on when we start adding the NPCs. The fruit could still be offering Fiona contaminated produce for her help. They're just not helping keep her safe. That way you can easily keep the best parts of the biophiles. Yeah, I think so. I think that's a good way to go, because the whole contaminated fruit plot just makes the fruit so much more evil. It's messed up. There's some potential nightmare fuel we can put in those fruits, and it's kind of scary and it builds the tension, and yeah, we do need to make them fruits more evil for sure. This is a rammed idea. Once every 5 generations the reptiles make a pilgrimage somewhere, and when they came back the humans had stolen their village. Oh yeah, it's gonna be good. It's gonna be like very to consider how it all happened, like as you say, were the reptiles at the village at the time of the invasion, or as you say, maybe they were on a pilgrimage and they just stole it from them in that way. I mean, how horrible, how mean, but it works, could totally work. We've got to build a sort of lore around the reptiles, and I think thinking of things like that, the ideas that are being brought up today about, they make sure all children are safe no matter what race, as you say, they go on pilgrimages and that kind of thing. It's all very cool, very cool. And there's also been other things mentioned about reptiles as well, like they've got long tongues. That was something that got talked about one stream, that they have long tongues. There was a few little bits mentioned about how they greet people with their wings or something, but I need to look back at those stream notes, because there was a few, they were all just very small things about reptiles and how they might behave and greet people and how they attack people and all that kind of thing. But I'll have to re-look at those notes, because those were from quite a few streams ago. I'm making a game myself. Oh, cool. What sort of game's that about? Unknown. I love that. Yeah, Chubbs was friends with Elite and the Prime Minister betrayed him and scapegoat the reptiles for something, outlawing their presence within the town of the Empire Kingdom. I loved the idea, because I was looking back through the notes of the last stream, of Elite's character, the Prime Minister, having reptile skins, actually wears reptile skins. Somebody, I think it was you, Zaxi. I'm going to just look back at those notes. Uses reptile to make his fancy cloaks. All the dead reptiles as cloaks, crying face. So yeah, that was something I thought was intriguing. Even if we don't know it at the time, not if we don't know it at first, but find out after, that could work too. But it was quite, the whole Prime Minister wearing reptile skin, was for his cloaks and things, for his fancy cloaks, is just so vile. And it makes us feel bad for the reptiles even more, and it makes us hate the Prime Minister more too. For sure. So I think I need to get Chub Cheeks' character put in this section, because Chub Cheeks' character is very key within the whole spell saga, because he's the antagonist behind the whole reason the spell happened in the first place. If you've looked at the Lore Bible article, it actually says an antagonist. If you've watched the video on YouTube, it talks about the antagonist in that too, but they've just not been named. But it is Chub Cheese's character. He probably hired a spellcaster to do the actual spell, though. He's just the sort of big man behind it, I guess. And so he's more involved in that saga and the whole barrel kidnapping, whereas Rex's character isn't involved in that at all. He's more involved in the whole resistance of like helping his fellow reptiles prepare against a potential second war against the humans, for example. His character's more involved in that. I said that was a joke, but it's good. If you're going to say something, even if it's a joke, you got to be prepared for me to potentially go with it, because it's been mentioned. Fun fact, lizards have the bare minimum of a Brian. I don't know what a Brian is. It's going to be a gritty, realistic World War II shooter that focuses on the atrocities committed by both allies. Oh, cool. Sounds good. Grit is good. Grit is always good. I must have woken up later. Hi, Matt. How are you doing? It's good to see you. Welcome back. Back from my meeting. Welcome back as well, Van. How are you doing? Welcome back. We're getting in some notes today. Just so you know, Van met because you guys were there last stream. I've been looking through the VOD, copying and pasting things you guys have said, so I've got it all. It's all in my secret notes. Here it is. I'll give you a little peek. I've got it all here. Things that you've all said, so it's all there. Right, and I'll be doing the same for this stream and any future streams that we do of this too. I know. And so I'm just at the moment sort of fleshing out, getting key information of the reptile war put in here. There's been some interesting things brought up by chat. Zexy and Mia mentioned things that are really interesting, like considering the history of the reptiles before the war, before the present day, and if there was ever like a king and queen back in the day and all that kind of thing, because the way things are now is probably very different to how it used to be. Like, life changes, and I'm sure both the humans and reptiles have been impacted a lot since this. Their life has been changed, and this whole spell just screws up things even more for them, because they're already suffering from the war. There's a lot of notes indeed. It's his character, so you might have to run this by him, but does he want to be directly responsible for the spell, or would he be happy with simply having seen the spell be cast and realising that the barrels can be used to catch raindrops, and that's why he kidnaps them? I think from what Chubcheek says, and I will have to double check of course, because you know it's always good to clarify things, I think he wanted to be very much involved in the whole basically he wants to be rich. He wanted to have his own containers so he could have his own raindrops that were valuable, and he found those barrels and etc. so he could do that, and he hired someone to do the job for him just because he just wants to be rich. And there's obviously, you know, more chance to flesh out that there, figure out why he wants to be rich. I mean, I'm sure there's a very good reason behind this. It could be to do with the whole reptile lore as well, and feeling depressed and wanting revenge, who knows. Could be many reasons. But yeah, he's a baddie. He's definitely a baddie that just... and he's very much involved with the kidnapping, and it's the overarching sort of plot. So we're probably not going to meet Chubcheeks in episode 1. We might hear about him though, because when we meet the reptile that did the hijacking, his minion, we might find out more about that character from him. But wherever you know, following Chubb's path, it will lead to the barrels basically eventually, because they're together. They're both, he's involved in where they are, and he's a big part of that whole plot. But whereas Rex's character is more involved with the whole war saga and things. So next question. Alright, so let's get notes up. So I did a few questions for your consideration and my own consideration too, because we'll need to think about that, about, you know, did humans invade? Zexy said something really cool, so I'm thinking of like putting boxes around maybe of ideas at some point, so I might start doing that now. I don't like how the formatting's all weird, but we can just copy and paste them once we're done. So give me a moment, folks, because it's a mess. Gross. How do we even get rid of that text? There, that's better. Make the text a bit smaller, probably. And put idea. So it's something like really interesting, like, you know, like this, because this is a very, very possible and I kind of like it. So I'm going to just put that off there, and I might start doing that and adding little boxes like that to any idea, specific ideas people start having. Hopefully we can keep it looking nice and not a mess though. We'll see. If I have to tidy up after stream, so be it. Sorry, I misunderstood. I thought Chob was the reptile with the baby. That's my bad. I'm sorry. Oh, no worries. It is a little bit complicated, especially like because I'm throwing all this at you now. I've been just throwing it at you. But that reptile that was in the painting, sort of a minion for Chob, he's the one that does his dirty work. He's the one that actually hijacked the cart that the barrels were in when they were kidnapped during the flashback. That he's the one that Rose saw. For it to be Chubb, I mean, it was going to be Chubb, don't get me wrong. At that time I was considering actually making Chubb be the hijacker, but Chubb himself said he imagines his character having the minions do the dirty work for him, because he's a bit of a like higher up, a little bit more, has a little bit more power, I guess. He's more of a leader, I suppose, to some of those reptiles. If reptiles are in this are cold-blooded, they could worship some sort of sun god. The pilgrimage could be related to that. Interesting idea, Master Emerald, for sure, because at some point we will be talking about the gods of our game. There is a bit of foreshadowing of that in the conversation in the cart with the barrels. They talk about the stars and the sun and the sky, and it's kind of all going to be linked to like the gods of this world, but we're a little bit early to discuss that yet on stream, because there's some really interesting potential ways that can be taken. But it is on the cards for the future, but it's probably not going to be quite yet. But it's an interesting point, that's for sure, Master Emerald. I like the idea. Blood for the blood son. Alright, so what's next? Let's look at my notes again. Because there was talk about the reptiles being cold-blooded, actually. Interesting to think about, because their way of life and how they are would just be so different to humans, maybe, potentially. Okay, so let's get this in. Because this is linked a little bit more to what we were saying earlier, so okay, so that's, I guess that's, there's been talk about, you know, lots of twisted truths about reptiles, that the humans are lying and things aren't as bad as things actually are in reality. And it might be the same with the reptiles, like when we get to the caves, that it turns out the reptiles have twisted loads of false facts about humans too, and make humans out to be these demons. So it goes both ways. And I kind of, I think, you know, we're going to hear a lot of that from the NPCs when we arrive there. Lots of stuff about how bad the reptiles actually are, because then it prepares us as the player to meet these horrible evil beasts. We've got it in our heads that they're going to be the worst. They're the antagonists of the game, no doubt about it. They'll be the boss. But it's actually not like that. It's actually really not like that. And of course, I'm sure there's going to be the odd evil ones thrown in. No doubt about it. Chub Cheeks, his character's up to no good. You know, he's not Rex's character isn't much better, but he's a little bit more grey morally. But it's complicated, you know. There's going to be some good reptiles that we're going to grow to love. That's for sure. The sun god Zar, as play on Ra and mine imagination, that would say Zed said it. What do you mean? The sun god Zar. Have I pronounced that right? Because I butcher things, as you know. I butcher words. Okay, so yeah, if anybody has any ideas as well for like sort of rumours, reptile rumours, that's going to be a good one to consider as well. Like what sort of rubbish and nonsense are the humans potentially thinking about these reptiles? And okay. I mean, another thing to consider as well, I've just realised, there could be books lying around as well, because we've got an inn, and that inn's going to have a bookcase. You know, we could... Somebody said last stream that they love the idea, I think a couple of people said it actually, that they love the idea of books and notes in RPGs to like tell us more about the world and the lore and the histories. Like, it's a good way to insert history into the game so the player can learn things. So they could learn facts, things about reptiles from the books as well, the history books, and the same for the reptiles. They live in caves. They could have sort of drawings and cave drawings on their cave walls about humans as well. So that could be the way that all the stories have been recorded over the years, potentially, if we want to make it more integrated into the game's world rather than just word of mouth from NPCs. I mean, we could totally do both. We could have NPCs spreading rumours from word of mouth, and we can have it in the history books and the cave walls as well. On the note of how the spell affected people of Lakefall, how do they get food? Are they hunter-gatherers? Do they have gardens? The farms are an entire different region on the other side of the forest. Is trade with that farm where all the food comes from? The spell bringing monsters to life would affect all of that. We just need to pick one. Good idea. Okay, let's think about that for a sec. Because we know that there's a tavern. There's a cafe tavern in Everbloom Forest, so they've got to get their food from somewhere. My first thought is that it's the trade between the local farm and Everbloom, because that's why Carol's in Everbloom, and why we saw, and when that flashback scene when the cart was going along that farm road. It's very close to Everbloom Forest. It's probably the next region, as we say. They go to and from, the carts go to and from this farm and Everbloom Forest to sort of trade their stuff together, and that could include food. I suppose it makes sense that they'd get their stuff from the local farm, because the trees themselves, there's no fruit on the ones in the game currently, but there's the possibility of there being another part of the map. Like if we look at our map again, we've got all these grey areas here where we can potentially add new maps in the future. There could be fruit trees here, that was mentioned, and if we're going to go for the whole side effects with the fruit thing, then it makes sense to have that, because the fruits had to have grown somewhere. I mean, I know that some of them could have come from the farm as well, because we've actually purposely put blueberries and tomatoes on that farm, haven't we? So they could have come from there, but the apple and lemon would have come from some trees. So maybe those trees do exist. But like you say, maybe it's a secret grove that only the fruits know the location of, and that's again why the whole trade Fiona's making with the fruits is so important, because it's their access to more food, and that's why they're so excited about having all this fruit, and it could potentially lead to bad things because it's got side effects in it maybe. But yeah, so far I could imagine the fruits from the trees being one source of food here. Other than that, there does not look to be any food sources on the map currently. Enemies, we have the toxic plant, that's not really food. We've got the mushroom. We got a little mushroom thing jumping about in this area, so maybe there's mushrooms in the forest that are a food source before they came to life, of course. What else have we got? We got flowers, bees, not them though. We got a deer. We got a deer that we fight. So meat, I suppose. Hunters, again, is another way they could get food. Kung's character, funnily enough, wants to protect the animals and the wildlife, from what I remember reading Kung's character's profile, so that could be interesting. She doesn't approve of the animals being hunted for meat. And then we've got Stumpy and Father Maple, and they're trees, so you can't really eat them. So yeah, I guess it's very, very traditional, this place is, in terms of food. They just get it from the plants and animals, and the local farm. That's kind of what I'm imagining so far. And hunters gatherers, yeah, when we flesh out the NPCs more, we'll get more of an idea of what their livelihoods are and what their daily tasks are about the town. So you never know, there could be a few gatherers that do that sort of thing. And do they have gardens? Maybe. Like, we need to build a section of hammocks at some point. I was thinking get these trees are pretty close together, so that's totally workable with the hammocks around here. And that would mean we'll have to expand on this grey area here, and that could expand Lakefall. We can have a larger Lakefall above the cliffs then, and there could potentially be all sorts here. Big question mark right now about what we could fill it up with, but hammocks was one of them, of course, because they need somewhere to sleep. But gardens, all that extra thing, possibility too. It's a very old-timey sort of traditional village, not modern at all for sleeping in hammocks. And they do things very, very much like people did before civilizations were a thing. And yes, the spell bringing monsters to life would affect all that, and that's ultimately why some realise and have found out stuff's happening in the forest. It's going to be the gatherers and the people that actually go out that are going to realise something went wrong first. Maybe one of those hunters and gatherers got murdered, and that's what freaked them out and gave them the first sign of stuff was happening, weird things were going on. Nope, she wouldn't approve, she wouldn't, would she? Hi Linda, welcome back to the stream. I hope you're having a fantastic Monday. Hope you're doing well. But, oh yeah, I remember now Linda's walked in, I remember something else that got mentioned last stream. So I'm going to bring the map up again. It was also mentioned that, well, we know the reptiles lived here originally. The water here could have been very valuable to the humans, and that might have been a reason why they invaded. There's been mention of, well, why would humans even come to Lakefall in the first place? Why would they bother invading such an out-the-way place where reptiles lived? Why not just leave them be? Valuable resources is a big reason why people invade. So they could have wanted to come for the water. And we know that water isn't valuable in regards to currency once it's fallen, so it wouldn't be for money reasons, but obviously water's still valuable for other things too, like to live, of course. Glad you like my idea. I think it was promising. It gives a good motive for why the humans would have invaded in the first place, and that's things we need to consider. We do have to think about why the humans would have come in the first place. They're not going to just be like greedy for the sake of it, are they? There's got to be something appealing about the place for why they would have wanted to have come. Oh no, speaking to a recruiter. Well, good luck. I hope that goes well. Good luck there, exciting times. You mentioned wanting ideas of how people would be reacting, their daily routine, and the source of their livelihood would determine a part of their reaction. Yeah, very well thought, Zexay. All this thing, in all honesty, feel free to just roll everything off, guys, because I will be looking at the VOD after stream. So even if I miss something or don't notice it, because sometimes it can be hard to notice everything while streaming, I might see it in the VOD anyway, and I'll reread it and it'll come in, I'm sure. So yeah, I guess there's two things happening here. The NPCs in Lakefall, they might either be talking about the reptiles and how much they hate them, and all this sort of propaganda and false facts, or they might be talking about the recent events of what's been happening about things coming to life and the dangers of the forest. Now, we got to think as well, the hero is a stranger, so they're not going to just suddenly just tell a random stranger everything. They might be a little bit more private about what they reveal. Some people are natural gossips though. I think we did say there'll be an old lady gossip in the village, the one that owns the item shop. She'd be willing to gossip, but some of the other NPCs might be a bit more hush-hush about certain things. But now this was the reason, before I catch up with chat, this was the reason I wanted Rose to paint a picture of the reptile, because when us as the party go back to Lakefall with that painting, it gives the NPCs of Lakefall a reason to start talking about the reptiles, because without that reason they're not going to just suddenly talk about the reptiles out the blue. It would feel a bit forced, right? But making it work with the plot, the main story, that like for example they've got a painting of the reptile, one of the characters paints one, it gives a sort of reason to start talking about them, because they'll go back to the village, we'll be like, do you recognize this creature, this reptile man? And they'll be like, no, not the reptiles, and things like that. They'll start freaking out at that point because they've been reminded of the reptiles. But it doesn't mean that, I could imagine they might get brought up still, like we'd get a sort of idea that they exist before then anyway, because people might start saying things like, yeah, it's there, the reptiles, they're back, those scale skins or those tongue lickers or whatever we decide is a slur word for them. Like, it might sort of be brought up, but there's still a lot of, it's pretty vague probably at first, unless we read the history books, because I think it'd be cool to have books in the inn that you can potentially read and look at, and maybe there's some info in there about things as well. Now let's catch up with chat. Actually, water from the lake could be their main export. It can still be used to grow the crops on the farm. It might not have Elementex, but it can be drunk and used to water plants and people. Yeah, and that's what makes Everbloom valuable, isn't it, when we think about it? It is the water. Like, is there anything else in Everbloom that's valuable, do you reckon? Other than, the flowers. The flowers is something to think about too. Like, why are there so many flowers in Everbloom? What's the history there, I wonder? Because there was a tribe I came across called Fertile Feet, and that kind of was a starting point for it. Like, some god walked across the land and blessed the land with flowers or something. I thought that was quite interesting. So that's something to potentially go, but I would like to think of a history and a reason for why there is so many flowers as well. A really good one. Yeah, I can imagine that's what they trade with the local farm, water for food. Like the food on the farm, like that they'd probably trade. That would probably be the trade. Are your reptiles quite peaceful people? Well, that's a question, isn't it? They might be peaceful now, but in the past they might not have been. In fact, they might have been very peaceful in the past, before the war started and before all the conflict started. Maybe the human invasion made them aggressive and angry and awful. And then there's probably a lot of phases that they've gone through history and change over time, and that's something to think about as well. How things have progressed for the race over the decades, because they're definitely going to be more angry since the war and during the war, and since they were exiled as well. Maybe they were peaceful once upon a time, and maybe they're a bit more peaceful now. Maybe they're happy living in the caves, apart from this character, of course. He's not happy, and that's why he's building a resistance. If they live in pretty rudimentary homes, then I guess they'd have a simple living, so either crop orientated or maybe textiles. Well, the humans live on the outside, and the reptiles live in the caves. So yeah, it's a completely different way of life for the reptiles in the caves. But yeah, they did live in Lakefall once upon a time, so it was pretty simple for them too. back when I did live there. But Lakefall might have been so different back then as well. Like how it looks here, it might looked completely different to that back when the reptiles lived here. Who knows? Could have transformed. And would it make sense to have hammocks on rafts anchored to the bottom of the lake? On rafts anchored to the bottom of the lake. Rafts. I need to see a sort of visual to grasp that one. Because I can't, I'm terrible, you know me. I need to see a picture because I'm bad with descriptions and sort of visualising things. But it's only because I imagined hammocks being on trees, and simply because there's an asset online of hammocks I found that works perfectly for that, for being on the trees, and it won't be hard to just get whipped up and add it to the map. But of course, if anyone's got any cool ideas, feel free to throw some visual images, because it's much easier for me to see and understand then. And I forget, did anyone ask why the buildings are so tall? The way they look seem to either be 2 or 3 stories tall like a shop house, or just have very tall ceilings with the windows above eye level. Oh really? I thought they were short. But, you know, I guess it depends, because if there was going to be a building with 2 stories in the game, I would probably make it like, I can't do it now because the layer's locked, but this is 3 tiles tall, you say, this building, and if it was 2 stories it'd probably be like 6 tiles tall. Because I don't know, I think 1 tile or 2 tiles would look super short personally, and might look a bit strange. But yeah, I don't know. The pretty cramped buildings, and it works for this area, this place. The buildings are gonna get larger and wider as we progress through the towns. I wonder, is it the same flowers all year, or does it cycle between different flower types each season? I don't think we have seasons yet in Raindrop Chronicles. It's not a part of the history, but in all honesty, I don't think we're going to do the season thing, because, at least not visually, because it's just too many assets and a lot of work. I mean, we've been considering a day and night cycle and a weather cycle. And I think in saying that the game could be doable, but it's going to be a stretch goal, more than likely. But seasons and that just even adds more potential assets, because then you've got to do fall tree, like the orange trees for fall and all that, and it's just more work. Right, so is there... But yeah, the flowers are probably going to just stay the same, just for the sake of making life easier for ourselves. And so, is that a bank? What if that's why Elite betrayed Chubb, so he could build a raindrop collection facility, strengthen the human government's control of the raindrops? Oh, that's a cool idea, Zexy, because this is the raindrop bank. It's very underdeveloped at the moment. We've really not decided much about how it works right now, but all I saw it as an initial idea was to introduce the fact that raindrops are a currency in the game as early as possible, and have it be a sort of place where you go to do hunts and jobs as the player in the game in exchange for raindrops. So like, for example, you might go in and there'd be like a hunt quest, like a job. I don't know whether we call it hunts, but you get the drift. And it'd say something like, kill 6 toxic plants for 200 raindrops. And it'd be like these little sort of tasks that villagers do to help, you know, for money, as a sort of community service thing, I guess. And the idea was to have these little buildings scattered all over the world. And what Zexy says makes it work. It's his way of getting power, I suppose, and control. I can see that being a thing and connecting well with this idea. But it's to keep it structured, you know, to have a structure for this currency, and so that there's fair distribution as well. Because I imagine that the shop, things like we got to consider the tradespeople living here as well. Like we have an item shop, and we got a tavern, and these shopkeepers get raindrops every day, don't they? Because they've got their shop, so they would have to go to the bank at the end of each day and give their stash of raindrops to the bank, and it's their way of it's the way of just keeping everything orderly, just like in real life as we do with our money, I guess. Because they're not going to just have a big stash of blooming thousands and tens of thousands of raindrops behind the till, are they? Every single day they'd have to, it would be taken maybe to the bank. Well, the bottom of the windows are above the top of the doors. Yeah, I guess. I mean, I'm not going to be getting into doing the building design now because it's something I'm in the process of, mainly the interiors. But you know, it's if the windows were like super low on door level, it might look a bit odd. I don't know, I'd have to experiment, but that's something to do for another day. Okay, just cross that off for now. And back to the thingy. It's actually just one flower, it's just moving so fast it looks like it's in multiple places on the map at the same time. Vengeful lizards, I like it, yay. One flower? What, there was loads of flowers? Oh, that's fine if we keep to one season for actually showing things, but just for how the characters talk about the history of things. Yeah, like honestly, thinking about seasons is something really cool. Of course that we'll have an actual structure to the year in this world, because who knows what the months are going to be called as well. I wouldn't want to call them what we call them on planet Earth. Let's give them cool months like Skyrim have done. Well, the Elder Scrolls world, for example, have some really cool month names. Frostfall and all that. They're really, really cool names. So I think I'd enjoy doing something like that, actually doing a plan of what the seasons are in this world at some point. I think I like the idea of pre-war lizards. Were very tribal. They didn't really have a concept of personal property, and all the raindrops they collected they shared. And Elite didn't want them to have that, so he betrayed Chubbs to make sure the raindrops in this fertile area belonged to the kingdom and could be safely transferred away to the capital. That was just a thought, yes. The government, of course, are going to be sort of, they're a part of it. They've got some control over what goes on here, even though the characters themselves, the government characters, probably aren't really mentioned much in episode 1. They might get brought up in conversation, maybe the odd time, who knows, if there's a place to introduce them, they might. But it's good to consider how that works, so I like your thinking, Zexy. And I like the idea of them being very tribal too. And that they shared. That's kind of sweet, really. Should have a say in his character's motivation. Yeah, he's not been on the internet. I don't know. He's been gone. So we do have the control now over Mr. Prime Minister Traitor. I went in his stream a couple of months ago because he was doing a baking stream. So I wanted to see what he was getting up to. But he's not been around lately, so I hope he makes a return, because he's a good egg. But I also know he's very, very busy with his school stuff, his teaching stuff as well. So maybe he's took a break from the internet. But yeah, it does look like there should be a second level to the buildings. Yeah, we definitely aren't going to have a second level to the buildings, or maybe we would if there's if we feel it's a little bit small and we need more NPC space or space for stuff, then yes, we could always add a second level. I liked the idea of it being super like small and like very simple way of living, as much as possible, so it contrasts with the future towns in the game where things are much bigger and buildings are much larger and more fancy and modern. Yeah, I could see what it looks like if I make it shorter, but I'm a bit concerned it'll look a bit silly. But we'll see. I guess only trying will tell us how it looks. High rise, the buildings are pretty. They look like the windows are for the sunlight not peeking out at passerbys. Yeah, that's what I was gonna. Now you've mentioned the Sunlight National, I was actually looking into how to get some interior lighting working, because I think it'll look really nice to show that the sunlight coming through the doors, because it's an open door as well, and the sunlight will come through. So that's something I actually was looking at off stream, funnily enough. And we have the control. We do. Like, honestly, if someone's not in the community, we have control over the characters. It's on the website now as well that we do have full control of the character. Once you've submitted your form, it's our character, mine and the community's character to shape. And yes, of course, anyone that's created a character, if they want to have a say, totally for that. You know, they want to sort of shape how they'd behave and how they'd approach situations. That I'm all for that, in all honesty. But of course, the nature of it being a Twitch community thing is the fact that people are not going to be around all the time. Sometimes people disappear forever as well. Like, some people could be very involved in the community and then just gone forever one day, and me as the sort of creator of this has to plan for that scenario if that happens. And that's why we need to sort of let the character be ours in case that happens. I mean, it's happened, it's probably already happened. There's a lot of characters in our game where people haven't been in the stream for a very long time because people have busy lives, you know. So it's our character now. I do think some of what I'm suggesting could be shifted onto a different NPC, someone who is no longer in office, who was doing bad corrupt before Elite was Prime Minister. That way we don't control too much as someone else. Yeah, I mean, we can't get all. We don't worry though, Zexy or anyone else. We have control. Like, if it gets like that, it'll end up being very stressful for us developing the characters because we'll feel we don't have permission. So I kind of want to state, especially on the forms now, and it is a recent addition to the website, that, you know, it's our character that once you've submitted them, it's our character. So anything that's super important, like really important to you about the character, please state it in the form, because if you don't want them to sort of like a certain thing and you're very passionate about your character being very against or very for something, state it in the form. Because if you don't come to the Twitch streams anymore, then that's it. Then we have the power and we'll control the character. So fair enough, yeah. But the true point, we don't have to put everything on Elite's character. We can totally create another member of government, because the government are going to be, it's not just one person, is it? There's going to be a few, so that's totally doable as well, for sure. Cripples the artistic freedom, for sure. We don't want to get into that situation where we feel restricted, and it could ruin our enjoyment as well. And the main thing is for us to have that freedom. I think, yeah, as long as I've always said, we'll stick to the vision of what's in the submitted form as much as possible, which we'll do. We'll go by everything that's in there. And if we feel something doesn't fit with that particular character, we can always create a new character, like you know what I mean, so it fits better. Okay, so where were we? ones that make the reptiles seem evil. So some of the younger people may have not lived to see what the other race in person and make their judgments from what they... Okay, so... yeah, we got to consider that too, that 17 years ago means the youngest members of the village, anyone that's under 20 or even in their early 20s, would not really remember this or even remember what reptiles look like or what they were like. So they're just going by what's in the history books or what their parents have told them. The ones that didn't die in the war, that is. If you like the idea of tribal pacifist lizards, and maybe after getting chased off by the humans they turn into opportunist, selfish behaviour where they learn to steal from people because they teach their children it's owed. Interesting. Life based on survival, taking what you can get. Yeah, I think all this is worth considering. And you know, not every lizard or every human is going to be the same. Not all lizards are going to be pacifists, not all of them are going to be thieves, or not all of them are going to be sad. There's going to be a variety of characters in the bunch. You know, race. We won't do race stereotypes or anything like that where, oh, they're all evil, or oh, they're all this, or they're all that. And yeah, they probably go by their culture's way of life, that makes sense, but they're still individuals as well. But okay, so I'm trying to think what to put in next because I've still got a load of notes to get in as well. As long as the story takes shape, some of these backgrounds for characters may not work, but you can't get those things stop you from making a good game. Yeah, it's always going to be the story that comes first. If we like, say, look at a character's profile, and we feel like, oh my goodness, there's a real potential there for something so cool, we're gonna do it. We're not gonna hold back on creating a fascinating character arc, even if it doesn't take the expected turns people might think, because we don't want everybody's character arc to be happily ever after, you know, and everything's all good and everything's hunky-dory. It's what makes this good is what's going to happen, and the some things might not be good, some things might go really shocking along the course of the journey for certain characters. I'm all right with, say, Rose's character. Something terrible happening, who knows? Blueberry are evil, end of story, fight me. I've accepted that Blueberry's evil, don't worry, Zach. See, Apple's actually my favourite now, so don't worry. Blueberry's cute and all, but he is evil, let's admit it. Good idea, more depth if there's different mentalities in each community, for sure. It just makes it more interesting as well, and just far more complicated, especially if we're going to be going with an ending to this episode where we change, as the hero have the say on who ends up populating Lakefall at the end of the episode. Humans or lizards, you know, or reptiles, or should I say, because that's the proper name. But you know, because who we ally with will sort of shape who probably ends up living there at the end of the episode. And I love the idea of making an RPG where the world changes around us too, not just us as the hero and our morals, but the world around us as well. And that includes things like what happens to towns, like, do you completely ruin a town, or do you cause it to thrive? Do the people living in that town change? Do the government itself change by the end of the game with what you've done and what's happened? You know, those sort of things are really fun. Like the fact that you can have impact on a whole society and region, or even the world, rather than just you yourself as the hero and character. kind of like how Witcher introduced racism, elves and dwarves, and some people are racist, others aren't. Some people are prejudiced because of what they have been taught, but if they don't dislike any dwarf, any elf or dwarf on that stereotype alone, yeah, for sure. And let's face it, in fantasy games, racism is going to exist because do we actually know a world where everybody lives in harmony, really? Because that's not usually real. It's a dream world. Christ is not going to have a happily ever. Is not going to have a happily ever after. Oh, you don't want him to, Zexy? Interesting, for sure. Like I'm the sort of person that's like, wherever, you know, take the character wherever it's going to be most exciting and most fascinating, even if that arc isn't a happily ever after. If it's going to like make the story like, whoa, you know, it's more fun, way more fun, and more memorable too. Those characters live in our hearts forever then, because of everything they've gone through. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to just get a few more facts down here. A few little points before we move on to talking about Rex's character, because we've had his sprite there for ages. Put you down there. Okay, so I just want to note that, just because, like, I think a lot of us like the idea of having books and notes of things in the game. It's been mentioned. I've noticed it. So, right. So. So this is sort of, I just want to get in what was mentioned earlier in the stream and the last stream. I think it's going to be a pretty important thing. So people have been indoctrinated. I think that's probably the word to use. I don't know. With fear and hate of the other race over the years. Facts have been twisted or even made up. He lost the love of his life. He never really gets over that. He might learn to be unsad some of the time, but I don't see if they like him being able to overcome that kind of melancholy enough to actually be happy enough for an ever after. Okay. Oh, and I don't know if you've got like a vision in mind, Zexy, like something solid in terms of a plot for your character, but if you have, don't feel free to like send us some notes either so we can expand on their profile. If you haven't, if you're more open-ended about how it's going to go, then that's fine too. If you want to leave it up to us to decide, but whatever you want to do, we'll go with it. Just let us know. Alright, so I feel like that's super important to get in, because I think we're all of the opinion that that should be a thing, that if things are being twisted or even made up. A lot of the notes from the last stream in particular were about that, so I might all try and, I don't know if there's a way to maybe even organise this whole thing better, but for now we'll just have it like this. Having a balance with humans. In fact, we'll put that up there and we'll bring that there. So having a balance with humans and reptiles. So that one isn't more evil than the other. Evil, I'll put this in brackets. Evil race stereotypes are too cliche. I mean, that's my opinion, so that's why I'll put it in brackets. There are, who agrees and who disagrees with me? I'm curious. Also, I've spelled that wrong. Can we bring, I want to bring this up a bit so it actually fits. I'm intrigued with opinions here. Agree and disagree on what? I've put in brackets here, and I've put it in brackets because it's my opinion. It's not really a fact. So, which is, I've said we will have a balance with humans and reptiles so that one isn't more evil than the other. And I've put in brackets, evil race stereotypes are too cliche. There are likely good and flawed in both races. So, that's to kind of, so anybody reading this and joining in on this suggester thing kind of gets the vision that we're not going for a reptile are the bad guys and humans are the good guys kind of story here. It's all about you and how you feel as the player and the hero as you play through the game, and your own personal morals and what you stand for, and you know, the complexities of people and flawed in everybody kind of thing. Yeah, I agree. Nothing wrong with the whole good and evil story thing. I mean, there's some fantastic stories in media that are just pure good and evil, but it's never been a real passion of mine, the whole good and evil trope. I think it's a bit tired now. I find it more fascinating that realizing that people are just more layered than that, and it's the whole morally grey area and orange and blue or whatever we want to call it. You know, nothing's ever that simple, black and white. Potentially recreating, yeah, sometimes you can like get very close to the real world when doing these fantastical race story things. I mean, I suppose it's just how it is, because that's what the worlds are like fantasy worlds. Most of them, I guess, have race conflicts and hatred, because you can't create a fantasy world where everybody gets on. It's a bit make-believe, isn't it, folks? It's a bit make-believe. But very shallow. RL is far more nuanced. I think it can be fine for simple games, but if you've got complex stories, you've got to have complex characters. Yeah, that's my jam, you know. I'm a big fan of that. I'm a big fan of the morally grey, like the stories I personally have enjoyed, that I've consumed over the years. I've always been drawn to that morally grey character over anybody else. All right. Oops! Oh, my elbow, my funny bone. I'm so sorry for the noise, folks. I get a bit like that sometimes. I bang my desk. Okay, so I think there might be a few more facts to gain here. I think we could potentially, I might be able to get all my reptile and war notes in before the end of stream. I hope, because then on Wednesday's stream we can move on to filling in the facts about these 4 characters here, because there's a lot to chat about with them as well. I mean, we've already done a lot of fleshing out with the fruits, but Stumpy, Father Maple and the tree in the centre, there's a lot to talk about with those guys still. We've barely begun there. And I think once we've covered like the history of these key events, we can start really thinking of like you know, potential mini stories that come off them, and that will develop into side quest ideas and all that fun thing. And then eventually we'll have to like plan the rest of the main story as well and talk about that, and make NPCs as well. All this fun stuff to do. Okay, so I'm gonna just make this a bit bigger. Okay. We've got a lot to fit in. We've got a lot to talk about still. I think we can do it. I think we can do it before the end of stream, I hope. So, if not, I'll just carry on Wednesday. I'll be happy doing this forever, if I'm quite honest. I find it really fun, these streams, so I'm not complaining if we stretch them out. Hi, Sorcerer. Thank you so much for that follow. Welcome. I hope you're having a fantastic day. There's also the question that just sprung to my mind, that if the reptiles are living in the caves after 17 whole years, they weren't murdered. Like, the humans were happy to have them just be exiled and out of like full. They didn't kill them all off. They didn't commit genocide, in other words. They just let them live in peace. I guess that's something to think about too. Why they didn't just outright kill them all. Considering there's always that risk of them coming back in the future and regrouping, which is what's kind of happening right now. So okay, so I'm going to get a few facts in place. Well, not facts. A lot of this is speculation now at this point, and ideas. And it might sort of get ideas in your head as well, folks. Well, what I'm about to put down. So I'm going to actually bold the stuff that's fact, so we can distinguish between the two. Don't know if I hope that stands out enough. It won't let it, the bold doesn't really go more than that, but I think, to be honest, most of it's fact that I've put in so far looking at it, but we're going to start getting to the sort of thoughts and opinions and ideas down here now. So and we will talk about Rex's character in a bit. I'm going to just put him a bit lower because I've still got a few other things to mention that are a bit more general. But his character is so key in this story that he's going to like be the prominent character that is probably going to be discussed. We can make stuff up. There's one thing everyone agrees on. There's a lot more birds and fish in Lakefall after the humans took it. The person that led the attack was the only human that the reptiles actually killed. Other towns don't trade with Lightfall because of how it was founded. Yeah, that's another thing to think about too. Like, how do the, like, is Lightfall feared? Is it like forbidden territory? I mean, since the spell started, like, how aware are the other parts of the world that this is happening? I'd assume it would take a bit of time for it to spread to other places that things are coming to life. They're not going to be finding out as fast because it's a little bit more, we know it's a global spell, but it's going to be a little bit more probably more affected in Everbloom, being as it's the centre of it all. But who knows, we won't even know till we visit those places, I guess. But yeah, the farm must trade with Lightfall because that's why Carol the Barrel is here with us now, because she was originally in the farm place. Well, she was originally in Everbloom, but we know that she's travelled to and from the farm because we saw that in the flashback that she was at the farm place with the rest of the Barrel kin. But maybe that's the only village or town that's willing to do business with Lightfall. Because it's pretty out of the way, to be honest, Lightfall is, I'd imagine. I don't know about worlds where everyone gets along, but I could see a world where conflict is based on more personal issues than larger. So, you think, Matt? Since there's so many trees around Lightfall, maybe a big part of local business could be harvesting lumber and sending it downstream. That's true as well, because there is a lot of wood in Lightfall. And I've purposely made all the bridges and the buildings the same colour as the tree wood now as well. And the ladders and everything else that's wood. So that would be water and wood and flowers and stuff, definitely. Could be that people who were most bloodthirsty were the ones that died, or perhaps the cave is too well defended or too complex and deep for the warriors to effectively breach. Oh, that's true as well. Maybe the reptiles just ran off there because it's their defence then, and they knew that they'd be safe there. And maybe the humans wanted to kill them but just couldn't. And it's true, the bloodthirsty ones could have been the ones that died because they were the ones that were fighting. Maybe the scared, cowardly ones kept away and survived. Very possible. Okay, so but yeah, one thing I want to mention is like how reptiles have progressed over the years. Were they? I'm thinking of a few things that were said in chat. So were they? Did they ever commit horrible acts? Are humans for hating them, or is it all a lie? I guess that's the question, because we have said that maybe they were peaceful, they don't want children harmed, they never, and it's all a massive lie, like all of it's a massive lie, like. But maybe, or are the humans sort of, do they have a point? Maybe at one time in history reptiles were bad. That's the question, because we could go either way here. But despite that, I imagine that now there's good reptiles among them. It's whether they were ever evil or whether there was ever peaceful is history. It's ancient history, because now there's good reptiles among them. I mean, there's probably some bad, but there's good too. So maybe don't do this, straw rail. There we go. Why is the text going small? There we go. Maybe. Hi, I'm Tyne. How are you doing? It's good to see you. Super good to see you. Some people are friends with this, but change our opinion of people despite the facts. Yeah, and if anyone gets some ideas, feel free to throw them in the ideas discussion channel after stream as well, or in the Discord. Especially if it's more like longer stuff. If anyone gets any ideas for more specific things, because we're kind of talking very general at the moment, aren't we? But I'm definitely intrigued to think of the NPCs more specifically as well. That'll be super fun, but I get that'll be a bit more down the line as well when we've planned all this stuff. The war that happened was bad for both sides, so not everyone is just willing to forget it happened, but some people are like, yeah, it's in the past, yeah. Or everybody's going to be, there'll be different reactions from everybody, and us as the player, one of the fun things is going to be making our own mind up about who we agree with, I guess. Hi Rex, how you doing? Hope the stream's going well. Look who's here. We've got your character just floating in the air. Hope you're having a good day so far, Rex. Maybe the leaders of the two sides were able to see that the bloodshed was pointless and they came to an uneasy peace, realising that they were both wrong, but those two leaders have passed away in the last few years, letting tensions start to flare up and chubs to influence things more. Interesting. So yeah, I'm gonna, obviously before Wednesday stream, any things like this, like key ideas, I'm gonna make sure are recorded in my notes, and I can have a good read over things and expand. I'd like to start doing ideas boxes off these as well, like we have for this one. That's just one example, but I'm kind of getting in the main stuff in this part here, and then I'm gonna sort of get arrows of ideas coming off things and as well. But yeah, it's gonna be good. I don't think the reptiles were ever bad, but conflicts happen between people and stories develop. Of course, in both races, good and evil is possible, yes. I feel like I wanted to add that just for thought. So, to give you guys some food for thought, maybe they did, but maybe they didn't. Because I do like the idea of them being a peaceful race deep down, and all the stories have been twisted. King for the humans, as well as an NPC that probably has been around for a while. Don't forget we have a king, a human king, King Dolos. He's got a profile. He's like in with Elite's character, the Prime Minister Traitorio. They're like sort of a part of the government, but of course that's like the overall king. Maybe regions have kings and races of kings as well. Like there doesn't have to just be one king only. Different places have their own kings, and different races too, different factions, etc. But I guess I'm fine for resources is a fair way to prove why both wanted to protect their people, and that neither have the right to claim everything. Both sides would have tried to get what they need and back down if they felt bullied by the other. But might be interesting to have the relation of one of the leaders to have been assassinated, and that leads to tension. That's good too. Tensions are always good. I definitely feel like resources can start things like that. Like, what was the reason in the first place why humans entered Everbloom, but then things just kicked off and got crazy once they were there, maybe. Do we have it where the humans that fought the war aren't the people that settled in the village? The people that are living, the humans living in Lakefall right now in the present day, 17 years after the war, are the survivors and children of the people that fought in the war. So you've got Nigel and Fiona. Fiona wasn't even born when the war happened. Nigel was probably very young. And you know, you've got the old school, like the older people, the older villagers would have been, I suppose, war survivors, and they're the ones that have the stories that we hear it all from. But yeah, a portion of them wouldn't have even been alive, and they'd have been too young to know or even remember. Okay, so what was I putting in there? So maybe. Right, so I don't know if there's anything to actually add there now, so we can actually talk about this particular character now. I feel like we've got the main thoughts down. The fact that not one is more evil than the other. We're not doing a evil race stereotype thing. There's the fact that, you know, it might have all been a lie, reptiles are actually peaceful, etc. We've got that down. The humans exaggerating the stories, those are like the key points here. So I think the next stage, looking at my notes here, we need to start actually talking about this main reptile guy who's living in the present day. And I think we can do that before we end the stream today, get that information down on him. Because Rex, who just popped in stream, I don't know if he's still here right now because I know he's at work, but he sent me some stuff over not too long ago about his character, and I've had those notes on my computer for ages. And so stuff that I'm going to be adding now is just an expansion of what's on his character profile, and it all very much fits with what we've been shaping so far. So I'm here, yay. So I'm getting down stuff about your character now, Rex. So obviously, hopefully you'll be happy with it, because I'm kind of just going to be copying and writing in what you've told me about him. So okay. I'm just going to get a bunch of stuff in first. It might be a bit messy and disorganised, but I just want to get it in before the stream ends. So I'm going to talk about when the party actually gets to the cave now, because we haven't talked about that yet. Should I make it a different colour just for... I'm going to make it orange because... orange is a cavey colour, isn't it? I was going to do brown because brown's the colour of a cave, but it wouldn't stand out very well against the background, so I'm going to make it orange. So in this part, I'm going to talk more about what happened when we go in the cave and expand more on this character, because he's obviously going to be in the cave. So my goodness, I'm quite hungry now actually. I'm sure it'll be perfect, hopefully. When the party in Phil trades the cave, the reptile. No, this is the thing. I wonder what we'd have been told about the cave from the Lakefall humans, because we're going to know before we go there that the reptiles are there now, because the next main quest is going to lead us there anyway, because of Carol's journey. We know that the reptile kidnapped a family, so naturally with that knowledge that the reptile kidnapped Carol's family, the story is gonna naturally lead us to this cave anyway. And maybe the humans of Lakefall have told us all sorts of nonsense about what this cave is, and really made us feel like it's this dangerous place, perhaps. So I'm gonna just say maybe it could be that. I'm going to put question mark, because a lot of them believe that the forest coming to life is related to the reptiles, and they're fearing they're coming back 17 years after the war. So maybe that's what they've said, that the cave's their base of operations, which kind of might be true, because Rex's character is the leader of a resistance that's been forming recently in that cave. But let's see. Write it in black so it's secret. There are a few notes I've got, spoiler notes in my document though, guys, that won't be put on here. Okay, so they may find it trying to think what some of chat have said as well. I'm going to put a question mark though, because some things aren't sure, they're just thoughts, they're not set in stone. So anything that has a question mark after it genuinely means, is that the case or is it different? So but all we do know is that when we get to the cave, things will probably be a lot different to what we actually thought it was going to be like. There's going to be a surprise, a twist there, because these reptiles have been demonized, and it's actually not as it's probably not all it's been made out to be. Okay, so I'm going to move this down because we're going to talk about him in this paragraph. We meet Rex and see and we don't have a clue what his relationship is with the other reptile, Chub Cheeks, because they're in completely separate arcs. Chub Cheeks' character's more involved in the spell side of things, and he's more of a power-hungry person, whereas Rex's character's more of a I care for my fellow beastman kind of person. So they've got completely different motives and completely different personalities, really, even though they're of the same race, which is also really cool as well, because we're not lumping every single reptile into the same purpose, we kind of go with the whole thing is different people are different no matter what race they're in or part of or what culture. Okay, so we meet Rex there, and he's planning now. Everything I'm putting here is facts of what is known about Rex's character from his character profile, and what Rex has also sent over to me about his character. Gotta head out. Have a good one, bros. Chat was this fun. Nice to meet you, Linda. Take care, Zexy. And in the next stream, whenever you're able to stop by again, I'm sure we'll get some notes in. And at some point, I'm going to put a screenshot in the Discord so you can all have a proper read anyway. But I want to carry on with this on Wednesday's stream as well, because there's a lot that I haven't talked about in my notes that needs to get put down and mentioned. And there might be a point where we have a break from the story suggestathon for a week or so while ideas can sink in before we return to it. We might go back to game dev stuff for a bit, but Wednesday I'd like to do another one, because there's way more stuff to talk about still. So, see, he's planet resistant against humans. He is a cleric that takes care of and heals beastmen. Now, this really works well with Zex's idea that he had about reptiles actually caring for children and having some like that nurturing, caring side to their personality where they want no harm. I think that very much links with this sort of character and how he heals and takes care of his fellow beastmen. That could also mean he helps, you know, the canines and felines as well, which Everbloom Forest might not have any or many of at all. But we know that the hatred is mainly just towards humans here, not other races. This how am I going to word this? Okay, the juxta. How gently he cares for his fellow. Okay, so we'll put that there. How gently he cares for his beastman juxtaposes with what humans in Lakefall told the hero. Or to be a bit more specific, juxtaposes with how humans in Lakefall perceive and fear reptiles. No, I think it's a bit better to be specific there. So yeah, based on this, and funny that you guys mentioned that they were going to be peaceful and tribal, because it just so happens that this character is that, because I didn't even mention that before you guys said it, so but that doesn't mean all the reptiles are peaceful. Like I'm all for having a few violent reptiles in the bunch, but he just happens to be the peaceful one. But yeah, he despises humans, by the way. He wants them all dead. So, you know, the peace only is with the beastmen. He indeed. So I want to get all these key points in before end of stream, because then we can all sit on them before the next stream then. The reptiles look to him as a leader. Eventually I'm going to expand this character's profile with this information too on the Lore Bible. And fight for him. I'll do a trivia before the end of stream as well, folks, just so you know. When we meet him, maybe he orders an attack on our party. It would make sense for him to. I'm going to put question mark for now because we don't know for sure. I'm also going to, because chances are we're in the cave, we'll eventually come across them at some point, and there's going to be conflict. We've got to have conflict in the cave, so that's going to happen. And because he hates humans so much, we're a human as the hero. We'll also, you know, have other humans in the party with us, Rose, and maybe somebody else will join us. So when we meet him, maybe he'll attack on our post. As soon as he sees a human, that's it, you know, it's in his character to want to order an attack, especially if the reptiles look to him as a leader and fight for him. True care, because he's just using carrot concept as a means to control the people. Is he a true believer or doesn't believe but using the religion? Definitely that is something we need to look into and potentially flesh out. But all we know so far is that he's learned the ways of the cleric as a way to undo the pain, and so he can be there for his fellow beastmen and heal them in the war, in the coming war, because he's planning. That's what he's planning. He knows he wants revenge against these humans, and he's there ready. Of course, he's an optional playable character, this guy is, so he is classed as an NPC antagonist right now on the lore Bible, but he's optional. Some of the playable characters may have to be optional, especially if we have many of them, and some will be ones that we meet on the main story. It'll all depend on who fits as being part of the main story and who's going to be more of an optional unlockable one. So he'll only be successfully unlocked if you are a reptile sympathizer, though. Of course, if you're not, then he won't be. So sounds like he isn't a true believer because intentions are opportunistic. Yeah, so you know, it's not black and white at all. He's not a noble person. I mean, he's considered an antagonist, and even when he joins the party as an optional character, he's a little bit more of a, you know, he's not like, you know, he's not all that innocent. He's done his bad stuff. I mean, wanting the human race annihilated is not acceptable at all. But you know, he's still, he's got his intentions, like, and the fact that he's got some points to him that aren't all evil just makes him a very complicated character. Conflict in the cave, rumbling in the jungle, fulfilling the forest, smelling the mountains. Love it. Might be interesting to see if that could change. Yeah, characters go through arcs, that's for sure. And I can imagine when we first meet him, he's going to be hating us. His character is ordering an attack on us, etc. Everything. But obviously, as things go on, he's going to eventually join us, so he's obviously going to realise that we are sympathetic to his cause, and there's going to be a development there just from this arc alone. So let's get the rest of the information in. So if you've shown mercy to his people, he can become playable character. That means you'll have to kill close to 0 reptiles for him to join, or only killed a few, but shown mercy, but shown remorse during dialogue to him during dialogue, like with player choice, you know, you could have shown remorse and he forgives you or something. So if that, for that fact, like if it is impossible to avoid every reptile battle, we'll have to go for the latter, because we don't know whether we might have to force the battles. We don't know until we get to the caves. part of the game, whether we'll make it optional battles and say fight or run. We might go for that sort of thing if it works, but if not, then we'll have to like show our remorse to him another way, I guess. Okay, so there is a few extra things about the reptiles I could get in. We haven't finished yet. And it's more to do with potential side stories and ideas. So I'd probably do a box like this for them. And one of them's the forbidden romance reptile human idea that was Zaven brought up last stream. So that's one of them. And I wanted to like expand on that part of the story if we're going to go for a reptile human romance, because there's a couple of ideas and you guys might have more as well. So we'll mention that next stream, because we can't really do that now. I'm glad we got the rest of the information in about Rex and things about that in today. So next stream we're going to just finish off adding a few more little bits to these, more ideas, and then we're going to go back and revisit the spell part and just start fleshing out this more about some of the living creatures in the forest and what their stories are, such as the tree in the centre of Maple, Father Maple and Stumpy, and I'll put their sprites there as well so we know who we're talking about, in case, because some of you might not know who they are. So we'll do that on Wednesday. That will be Wednesday's goal, and I don't know if we'll be continuing on Friday. It all depends if we got everything down, but at some point we'll probably have a few streams breather from the story suggestathon, just so we can sit on the ideas a bit, and then we'll return to it. So I'm excited to do more next stream, and I'm going to put a trivia in chat, everybody, so you better be ready. I'm going to give you a 1-minute warning. Going from a user of the religion to finding faith in something should be fun. Yeah, and if you have any ideas, feel free to throw them at me. Maybe could have not an interracial love interest, but maybe an adoptive child from the other race. Yeah, that is something, another idea too, funnily enough. There's going to be a baby reptile in the game. That's already been established because it's part of the main quest that's already sort of been done. We started shaping that character's backstory that Rose did a painting of, and he is going to have there is going to be a baby reptile in that cave, and you know, I love the idea of an adopted, you know, I never know, the humans could adopt that baby reptile, but or vice versa, the reptiles could adopt a baby human. But we're in love with the forbidden reptile story. There was a lot of hype about it last stream. So, and funnily enough, I did come across, I thought of an idea for that as well before it got mentioned, that could be really cool. Well, tragic, should I say, not cool, to do with the forbidden romance thing, but we'll mention that next time. Like, we're not limited here with options. We can go for both. We can have an adopted story, or we can have a forbidden romance if there's a place for both of them. You know, if it fits and if it's going to add substance and a lot of value to the story, then yes, it will be done. Okay, you know I will. Yay! Okay, I'm going to pop the trivia in chat, folks, so get ready. I hope you're ready at your keyboards, because who knows what this question is going to be. Trivia question time. What is the name of Meryl's boyfriend? Oh my goodness, Fran. You knew it. And we haven't even mentioned Axel in so long. So that was actually a hard question, because it's been a while, but he has been the topic of conversation a lot in the past. So there you go. GG 5 points. It's still very possible to catch up with it's still very, very possible to catch up with Anno with those points, because because it's only 5 points. You had like 20 odd last time, I think. Well, this is a question I missed when gave the wrong answer. Now it's burnt in my brain. Yay. Thanks so much for hanging out, guys. I want to say if there's one sec, folks. Yeah, I'm gonna see if there's anyone online for us to pass the love to, so it'd be awesome if you join in. So ! raid time, everybody. And yeah, we're going to do more of this next stream, so I hope you're excited. I hope you're excited. I'll send us over to Vagabond Dog today. He's just come online, I say. Story suggestions going awesome. Thank you for the stream, Rose. Yay! I'm glad you're enjoying it. That's always awesome to know. So we'll go say hi to Vagabond, everybody. I hope I've done the raid thing right. There we go. So I'll see you all on Wednesday, everyone. I'm excited for more of this. Thanks for hanging out, for all the cool ideas. It's going to be super cool. Yay! Take care, everyone.